No light will ever be perfect, and no piece of gear will ever fit every scenario you want to put it through. So finding a new light that not only fit in my kit as a full-time photographer, but also gave me new looks that I couldn't shoot before, well, those would be some pretty big shoes to fill. So I'm gonna bring this light on a couple paid gigs that I have coming up and bring you all along with me as well and put it through its paces and see how it really performs. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Sergio and I'm a commercial photographer here in Victoria, BC, and if you know me as the flash guy. But this light has opened up a whole bunch of new possibilities that has really changed how I think about my photography. Now before this starts to sound too much like an ad, you did send me this light for free, but I can say whatever it is that I want about it, and they were cool with not okaying the video before it came out, so I will be completely honest and blunt with you guys about what it is that I feel about this piece of gear. I've got a product photo shoot with a model, and we've also got a food photo shoot with a professional chef. That's coming up, but before that, we'll just quickly get into a little pros and cons of this light, show you what this light can really do for you in your kit and how practical it can really be, because I was always wondering if it was flash or LEDs, and it's not until just now that I even realized that it could be flash and LEDs. And that's how you can really build out a kit that will be beneficial for you and your photography. The light is $800, so it's definitely not cheap, but it is a good $400 or $500 cheaper than the 300Ds from Aputure if that's something you're comparing them to. I will say if you're comparing them between the two as well, the size difference is the main component, and we'll get into that a little bit in just a sec. What you typically get with the name brand stuff is the familiarity from the rental houses around you, but it also usually means if they have it, that means they're built to last and to be put in hands of people who don't necessarily care about them. If you really care about your gear and you make sure that you don't bang it around, maybe paying extra for like heavy duty stuff might be just wasted for you if you're just a very careful person. Now, speaking of size, it weighs only about 1.5 kilos or just around 3.5 pounds with the ballast, the controller, and the light itself. Like the two separate things only weigh around 3-4 pounds. It's really quite light and it's very small and portable. You would think this is like a 120 watt light. When it comes to portability, this thing is really kind of hard to beat. It's just super small. And the other one, like here, like you got the two pieces here. And it's like having, you know, like this is like an 8200, this is like an 8200. And a couple cables, and you got yourself a super powerful light that you can easily bring anywhere with you. And I don't know if you noticed, but this is a super small, lightweight, like 7-foot stand that this basically has its own little stand weight with it, and there you go. You got yourself like a super portable. Oh, there we go. Fan just turned on. I don't know if you got that, but you got yourself a super portable thing that you can bring super lightweight stands with, and you got a really powerful light for almost no weight and plenty of juice. It's a win-win to me. Cooling has also been totally fine, and surprisingly so. The fan in the back of both units are super quiet. Like you can hear it if you put your ear up to it in a very quiet room, but as soon as there's any noise or you have a microphone that's any bit little directional, you won't pick up the noise from the lights. They're really quite quiet. It's hard to really speak on the like longevity when I'm comparing them to like something like an Aputure, but I've been shopping around for them, and even on Marketplace, my friend who has a few of them in their studio, as well as the rental house that we rent from here, many of them that I've noticed, the yoke gets loose, and it's something that you need to like open up the light, retighten a bunch of screws, maybe like replace some stripped ones and put it back together. It's a fixable thing, but it's still kind of a problem. It's annoying. So as much as your light might not explode on you, which is the main issue you're worried about with third-party lights, let's say, at the very least, when it comes to build quality, it's not like the Aputure lights are perfect either, but it's hard to really test the build quality when I've only had them for about a month. But so far, these lights have been fantastic for my use cases. Now look, I understand I have some bad habits when it comes to my lighting etiquette. I tend to grab and move my lights by the modifier itself. Then it just so happens that on the product shoot with the model, I was grabbing the modifier and it just fell right into my hands, and I was just about holding it over my model's face who was lying on the ground below me. And I know it's like kind of partly my fault for holding and pushing the light and then holding the modifier to move the light, let's say. But I've been a full-time photographer for 12 years, And that has never happened ever. And I've been using, you know, cheap Godox lights and plasticky S brackets from Amazon. So like, look, it doesn't fall. I can put a pretty heavy modifier on this light, and it has no issues even if it's boomed straight down. But as soon as I put any bit of pressure against the Bowens mount, it just falls right out. So not a deal breaker, but just be careful, especially if you're working with like a model that's right below a very heavy beauty dish or something like that. I've never been much of an app guy or very techie with my lights and stuff like that. Honestly, even just having a camera trigger that was built into my flashes, like the 200s or the speed lights when I was first getting them, already that was pretty revolutionary. It was crazy that you didn't have to put like a pocket wizard on your light as well as on your camera. So using apps and things like that is not really what I look at. But because we're not using triggers on top of our camera anymore with LED lights like this, it's nice to have an app that actually lets you control. Let's say you have multiple lights in your scenario or in your scene. Let's say you have multiple lights or some that are hard to reach or tricky or whatever. It's very simple to just kind of grab the app, move, change the color temperature, get it like, because it's bicolor, you can change the color temperature as well as the power output all through the app. Quite handy to have, especially when you have multiple lights going. I will say that matching color temperatures between multiple branded lights like my Aputure 60D and this guy over here, and even my flashes like you'll see in the food photography shoot, it gets a little bit tough to match even if you're shooting all at white at this 5600K. It's hard to match all the colors, and if we have this light on for, let's say, 8 hours, we're doing a full day shoot, I have noticed that there is a magenta to green shift that happens of maybe about like 5 points. Nothing too crazy, but throughout the day, there was a bit of a shift between the magenta to green tint. Okay, so how does it perform out in the field? For the bedding shoot, I needed to create matching photos and videos, and that's definitely not uncommon nowadays. Other than the classic ecom style shots that you're going to see me here, the vast majority of these images had to have a video counterpart. So it made it essential for me to shoot with continuous lights that allowed me to create things that were the same in photo and in video. I couldn't extend backgrounds. I couldn't do any of that. It had to look the same as it will in the video. Thankfully, my studio is in a basement, so I was able to just turn off all the lights and just shoot with a light that was beamed up against the ceiling and the G300 over here beamed through a gobo shooting towards our product. This is another thing that's been absolutely phenomenal with a continuous light is I shoot a lot with gobos or with plants or with things in front of the light to create shadow patterns, to create dappled lighting. And shooting with a flash, like, yeah, you can do it with flash as well, but what you don't see is like the 49 other raw files of me moving the gobo by 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, it taking up space on my computer, it taking time with the client. God forbid we move the product, now we have to restart all this whole process over again. It gets a little bit annoying. So having a continuous light that just shows me exactly what's happening while it's happening is definitely going to save me some time on set or on my spec shoots, whatever it may be. So now if we move to my cooking shoot with the chef, you'll see in the background that there is a 8200 that's beamed up to the ceiling to add more fill light to the scene. And that's because you know that I like to shoot at f11. I like to use my tilt shift lenses to see everything in focus, front to back. You can click here if you'd like to learn a little bit more about that. But that means that I need a whole lot of light, and the ability to still use the gobos in front of the G300 and placing the shadows exactly where I want them in the scene, and then just having the depth of those shadows controlled by a flash in the background was exactly what I needed to create the shots that you see over here. Light like this has definitely been useful to me and my kit, and I am excited to keep expanding in my mix of flash and continuous lights and bringing you along on the journey with me. If you are interested, there's a link down in the description for 10% off these lights for yourselves. There is an affiliate link, so I do get a little bit of a kickback, so I apologize if you're like, oh my goodness, he's trying to make a buck out of these free videos, God forbid. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got a little bit of something out of this video. Comment down below if you've been toying between the idea of LED or continuous versus flash, that kind of debate. Let me know what you're thinking. Leave a like on your way out, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in a couple days. Later.
Oh god, I want to put that one in so bad. to be able to like consistently serve that to people would get me so happy. No. Only problem.